Hi everyone, this is episode 2 of Coral Renaie Reacts, and I am really hoping that today will go a lot smoother. And I am also super excited because I have not yet read this one, which I didn't read the first one either, but I've been really wanting to read this one, so it's been really hard for me not to. I don't know why, it feels like it's going to be a lot of drama, and I'm really excited. It's people are revealing the moment that they confirmed they actually hated someone, and the line is fine. And then the subline says, in the first 10 minutes, he told me how much he made, asked what I made, and then scoffed at the amount. And if you're wondering where I got this from, this is a BuzzFeed article that I found on Facebook, of course. So I am super excited to get into this one. I don't know why. I just feel like it's going to be a lot of drama. And I don't know. I've been feeling spicy sometimes lately. So, all right. It says, it starts out by saying, let's face it, some people just suck. They activate the hater in us, and it can feel good to vent about them instead of bottling it up. That's what I learned when, it's a U.S. / lawyer at your service asked people, who is your fucking I hate this guy? And, okay, listen, I am not I'm not on the internet, okay, I am on the internet, but I'm like not on the internet, if that makes sense. So like, I believe that means that this is a Reddit thread. But this is what I mean when I say, like, I do have a Reddit account, but I don't know the jargon of the internet, I guess it would be I don't know. Anyways, I'm assuming it's a Reddit thread. And it says there were a lot of heated responses about all genders. So here are the stories about the jerks that stood out most. And so, I don't know. I am pretty ready to get into this. This is going to be silly. All right, let's go ahead and just get started. So the first one says, my 30-something neighbor, we share a property line with this clown. I planted a row of lilac bushes almost 25 years ago, and he wants me to take them out because he says, quote, they block the sun from his garden. The lilacs are planted well on our side of the property line, but he thinks that his back fence was built 2 feet into his property and that the lilacs are actually on his property. And this has been going on for over 3 years. So I shelled out $3,000 for a survey, and lo and behold, the property line is exactly where I thought it was, 3 feet from my lilac hedge. A fence is being erected as soon as the ground thaws. F him. It says a 6-foot fence is what allowed the bylaws of our neighborhood, or a 6-foot fence is what is allowed by the bylaws of our neighborhood. But I can put plants above that, and I already have a healthy evergreen clematis that I'm going to train along the top of the new fence. It would have been in his best interest to leave it alone in the beginning, but he kept pushing his stuff over the property line into our yard and claiming that we don't know exactly where the property line is. Well, mofo, we do now. Can't wait for spring thaw. That one's really funny. Ugh. Okay, but like also they're like a 6-foot fence is what is allowed by the bylaws of our neighborhood. Personally, I think that like HOAs, that is gross. So gross. But I mean, good for you for getting your fence erected and honestly, I feel like those people that are like, this is my part, like that like dispute property lines to where you actually have to like bring the city out to like do a survey, like that's wild. I don't know. I've never met a person that has actually like had to go through that. But if you have, I would love to know, like, like, what even happened? Do you have to pay for that? Or I guess she said that she had to shell $3,000 out. Why? Like, why do you have to pay for that, first of all? But like, also, like, I don't know. Anyways, just let me know if you went through that process. I want to know. Okay. So the second one, I used to work as a receptionist for an obstetrician, And there was a patient's husband whom we all loathed. He called his wife a fat cow in front of the nurse. Oh my God. Right there is where they could just stop right there. Like, done. If your significant other has called you a fat cow, like in a derogatory, like, I mean, there's not really an endearing way. I don't know. Ugh. Anyways, okay. When she was in the hospital having her 9th baby and needed an emergency C-section, they had to get security involved because the husband was blocking the door to prevent them from taking her to the operating room. He refused to let her have a hysterectomy, even though she had a lot of medical issues that could have been resolved by it. She didn't legally need his permission, but they were Amish, so she submitted to him. He made her try for a vaginal delivery after a C-section, even though it was more risky. He wouldn't let her take insulin for her gestational diabetes. I came to the conclusion that he was trying to make her die without actually pulling the trigger physically. He was an absolute monster, and I still think about her and wonder if she is okay. 6 years later, I still remember her name. Wow. I mean, look in your local obituaries. See, I mean, I don't even know. I guess if they are like disconnected, maybe they will not be in the local obituary, But I mean, that's also really sad. Like, you don't want to just be checking obituaries for this girl. Like, that would be horrible. Ugh, my mind goes to some dark places sometimes. All right. Ooh, number 3. My husband's sister is married to the biggest asshole I've ever met. She works as a nurse and he pretty much lives off of her salary. She sees it as taking care of him, but we all see how he clearly takes advantage of her. She'll work all day while he stays home with their dog, yet the house is always a mess when she comes home. And he still expects her to cook dinner. One time she made him a breakfast sandwich at her parents' house, and he complained because she used Kraft cheese and put it on a paper plate. He'll gaslight the shit out of her, talk down to her, or call her stupid because she is not as passionate about politics as he is. What? If we bring up these issues to her, she gets really defensive. Their relationship is just really toxic, and she's okay putting up with him because she is in love or whatever. And then she ends it with, fuck him. Honestly, yeah, fuck him. That's gross. And also, you know what? If you want your food made a specific way, and you like can't just be grateful for someone making you food, go fuck yourself. Be like, yeah, fuck you, yeah. All right, number 4, a classmate in college. We were in this class where we were asked to form groups to work together throughout the year. My group was missing one member, and I decided to invite a lonely guy who was reading a book. He was a good group member, and he did a good job. The problem was that he was a dick. He'd film people with his phone during class and then post it on his Instagram to make fun of him, or to make fun of them. Wow. Like when he posted a story of some person who kept stroking their beard in class. The worst offense, for our last assignment, we had to write a script. I wrote one and he didn't like it because it was, quote, too Disney. I was taking another class and I didn't have time to write another one, so I asked him to write his own. The jerk wrote characters based on us. And the protagonist, who he admitted was based on me, ended up getting into orgies and hardcore drugs. Endearing. Gross. I mean, that sucks. Like, you're like trying to be nice, and like the person that you are trying to be nice to turns out to be an asshole. Ugh. And then that just makes the whole entire situation like so uncomfortable. Gross. All right. Number 5. The person who abruptly stops walking in the middle of the hallway or a sidewalk, or has their neck completely craned over their phone and is walking at 2 steps per minute. I know I'm American, and the stereotype is that we're all rushing around because we are busy, but seriously, pick up the pace. I have long legs and places to be. That's really funny. I like how she's like, it's not even just one person. It is like all of these people who are doing these offenses. Number 6 says, my ex-boss was a colossal dick. You know the type, the one who is always right even when they're not, passes you any work they deem too hard, and has this mentality that you are some kind of computer controlled drone who exists to telepathically know what they need and when because you're designed to serve them. He had this belief that everything could only be done right if it was done his way. Anything else was faulty, even if it was done properly as dictated by the client. I still remember the time that I was in an attic fixing wiring as I heard him talk about me below. He was complaining about something I'd worked on out loud when another boss walked in. The other boss asked, "What's the matter? Did John, another worker, do something bad?" As soon as my ex-boss learned that it wasn't me behind the task that he was complaining about, it was suddenly perfect. He even told the other boss to tell John that he did, quote, good work. Wow, what a jerk. Okay. I had this terrible, horrible, this reminded me of a manager that I had at Applebee's. And it was when I was younger, like, shoot, how old was I? It would have been the time, so I worked at Applebee's for the first time when I was like 16. And then I went back again, I think when I was like in my 20s. I think I was like maybe 21, 22. I think. Somewhere around there. But anyways, I got this manager that was absolutely horrible. Like literally when I went to go get my tips one night, he balled them up. Like he balled my tips up, like each dollar individually, balled it up into like like he's throwing away trash, you know, like you would ball up trash, and threw it at me one by one. And like he called me the C word, the 4-letter C word. He literally like pushed this other girl into the deep fryer and she almost burned her hand. I hated that man. He was the worst. The worst manager I ever had. But that's what that guy reminds me of. Number 7, my middle school algebra teacher. I got my period at the beginning of class and she refused to let me go to the bathroom. I bled all over myself for an hour and had to wear bloody clothes the rest of the day. Fuck you, Mrs. Lynn. I didn't tell her what had happened because I was very young and embarrassed by the whole thing. Still, the idea of denying students the right to go to the bathroom when required is insane. Honestly, yeah, and I have met quite a few asshole teachers too. And you know what? I have one in particular which really pissed me the fuck off. And the worst part about the situation was that I actually really liked this teacher at first, until after high school I left and I ended up asking her for a like recommendation for a job, and it was purely based off of like her knowing that my Spanish is good. Like I literally, like she was my Spanish teacher and I passed her class, like, and I was very good at Spanish. So like that was literally the only thing that I was asking her to basically like recommend me based on. And she said she wouldn't because she could tell that I was going through a rough time when I was in school. And because she did not see like me, quote unquote, like being responsible almost. But like at the end of the day, like what really pissed me off was the fact that you saw that I wasn't okay. She literally like, I went through a name change when I was in school and she like pulled me aside and literally asked me if I had gotten married, and I tried to explain to her, no, like I just found out that this was my actual legal name because the father that I like my biological father, it was a whole mess. Like it was a whole mess, and it was a really shitty, horrible situation. And like I was going through a lot. And I could have used an adult to help me. And she blatantly told me when I was an adult that, yeah, I saw you were struggling, but I did nothing. And I'm like, fuck you, you know? Like, who has the audacity to not only look me in my face and be like, no, I'm not going to recommend you for a job because A, I don't feel like you're responsible enough, because when you were a teenager, you were going through the worst shit. Like, you were obviously going through some shit and you didn't handle it well. And I'm like, okay. Because as a teenager, I didn't handle trauma and abuse well, you will not, like, you're gonna not say, at least vouch for the fact that, like, you know that I can speak Spanish, that like my Spanish is fine, like that would work for this job. Like, I don't know. It just, to me, it really like hit me like people see you sometimes. Like that, I think that was what really hit me, is like I did not think that I was ever seen. And she saw, and she just did not care. Or she just like did not know what to do. I mean, I don't know what was the case, but like at the end of the day, it really felt like she just did not care, you know? And so fuck that teacher and fuck this teacher. And moving on to number 8. A few years ago, my friends and I were partying at a nightclub in New York. Some random guy kept coming up to us and trying to dance on us all night. It wasn't aggressive, sexual, or anything. It was just, I don't know. I guess he thought he would let us, or I guess he thought we would let him join our group. At one point, I was dancing with my best friend, or I thought, but when I turned around, it was actually the guy dancing on me from behind. My girlfriend pushed him away, and we continued our night, trying to dance with that, or we continued our night. Trying to dance with us like we had been friends for years was weird. It said, I felt bad because he didn't seem like a shitty guy or anything. If he introduced himself to us and actually tried to interact with us, we probably would have let him hop in with us. All he had to do was be social and maybe buy a round of shots or something that showed that he wasn't just there to fuck us. I hope he has found someone he can dance with now. That's really weird. One time I went to the gay club with a bunch of I guess not, like 4 of my friends. And this man ended up coming up, and he was like, I was pretty much the only gay individual in that group. And, you know, he like asked, because it was a gay bar in Kansas and a lot of the people that are there are straight. And so he asked, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the only one that's gay. Like, and I owned up to it, whatever. He's like, yeah, me too. And he like kind of got excited and was like trying to dance on me, but like it got really very weird, kind of like this. And I feel like if you ever have like a weird feeling, there's a reason. I don't know what was going on that night. I still to this day do not know what happened, because some other crazy stuff happened that night, and like I ended up losing that guy because some other crazy stuff happened. I ended up getting like basically assaulted in the bathroom, but and I mean, like, I'm laughing because it was like a kiss and it was not okay. Like, it was this older woman and I was this really young like kid, and like, no, it should not have happened, and it was absolutely unconsensual and very gross, but oh my god, it was just a wild freaking night. All right, number 9. Number 9 is very short. Any dude whose personality revolves being an alpha. That one sounds like it was submitted by Drew. I'm just kidding. Okay, that's funny. Oh, alpha men. It's those self-proclaimed alpha men. That's what it is. They're the problem. All right, number 10. My best friend moved to a different state. She met a guy and quickly got engaged. She brought him to meet us, and he told me how much he made within the first 10 minutes. Then he asked what I made and scoffed at the amount. Oh, it sounds like this is the story from the preview. He went on to say that he would never live in my apartment because we didn't have an elevator, and he would never be caught dead driving a car like mine. He followed up that with the fact that he buys new cars every 2 years. He talked over my friend constantly. I would ask her a question and he would answer for her. He complained about the amount of money that she made and made fun of her job. She's a social worker who works with underage girls who have eating disorders. He styles his mustache to do that pretentious curl thing with wax. Fuck that guy. That's really funny. Fuck that guy. Oh, okay, it was her boyfriend. I wonder if they're still together. Hopefully not, because, ugh. Number 11. The suit guy from Train to Busan. It's been a while since that movie made me actually hate someone, but that dude was another level. Okay, well, I've never seen that, so, I mean, let me know if you agree, because I have no opinion on that. I have not seen this. I want to look it up now, because I can't lie, I've never heard of this. Okay, let's see. Next, number 12. Okay, I used to work as a receptionist for an eye doctor, and there was this one dude I always needed to call, and he never answered his phone. I'd be calling him to confirm an appointment, ask a question about an order, or remind him to pick up his glasses, and he just wouldn't pick up. The problem was his voicemail. It was 2 minutes of him acting as if he couldn't hear you. Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. And then him eventually saying, just text me, before I finally heard the beep to record a voicemail. I fell for it the first time because he did a genuinely convincing job. Every other time I had to sit through this long-ass voicemail to be able to actually leave a message. I bet this idiot thought he was so clever and didn't even consider that someone other than his friends would call. No, I cannot just text you from the Vision Center's landline. I hope this guy gets a clue before he applies to jobs with this or something. Fuck that guy. Honestly, that's true. Like, a job calling him. But I mean, maybe he's been at his job forever and he doesn't care. That's really funny. Just text me. Okay. Sorry to put some chapstick on because my lips are feeling dry. Feeling better. Okay. Number 13, my brother's uncle. Wait, what? My brother's uncle? Oh, she says, I refuse to claim him. That's so freaking funny. I'm like, wait, your brother's uncle is your uncle. Okay, anyways. He put my grandparents through hell. Some of the gems he said to his mother's face are, why don't you just give me my inheritance now? Why would I want to ruin Christmas Eve by spending it with you? And then once she died, it was, oh, boo-hoo. He swore he put family first. Then he proceeded to treat my grandfather like shit, and because Grandpa lived with me, I saw it firsthand. He would say he was coming over on Sunday, so Grandpa would be up at the crack of dawn, ready to go, and would be sitting, watching out the window like a kid who has divorced parents and is waiting for his dad to show up for his weekend. He would sit there all day and be heartbroken when the fucker didn't show up and never called. Oh my God. Listening to my grandfather's cry, my grandfather cried because he was so upset and made me see red. Then, once Grandpa died, it was all boo-hoo, poor me all over again. Since both of my grandparents were gone now, I ripped into him and told him exactly what I thought of him. That was 13 years ago, and it still wasn't enough for me. Interesting. I always wonder about people like that who are like, you know, in life, they really don't treat these people right. But then, like, once they're dead, like, they're like, supposedly lost without them, you know. Like, I never understood that. What is the motivation? And I mean I guess the motivation would be attention. You want the attention from the living people around you because the people that are dead are no longer like it. You know, in their mind it probably doesn't affect the dead people, but I don't know, it's just wild to me as someone who speaks to the dead on a regular, you know. I guess it kind of seems like rude. Just a little rude. Okay. Number 14 says, a former high school teammate who was just a jerk to everyone. What pissed me off the most was that his Instagram stories would be about how God wants you to be a really nice person, even though he was a complete jackass in real life. He had it out for me specifically from the day that we met. He's the only dude on this planet that I genuinely hate. That's really funny. A former high school teammate. Number 15. Anyone with that stupid broccoli haircut where it is short on the sides but curly on the top. They're an asshole 99% of the time. A lot of hate on specific types of people. All right, number 16. I have a coworker who constantly talks over people, refuses to think that she's ever wrong. Maybe I'm refusing to think that I do refuse to think I'm ever wrong. So this is me. It's probably me. I'm also constantly talking over people. Just kidding. Okay, let me see what else she does before I claim this, because she could be doing something really bad and I don't know. Okay. Okay. She is constantly talking over people, refuses to think that she's ever wrong, and is just all around obnoxious. I mean, I can get along with pretty much anyone, so it's pretty bad when someone makes me as angry as she does. There have been times when I want to walk out the door or wait, when I've had to walk out into the hallway after interacting with her and let out a whispered scream because if I don't, I'm afraid I'm going to go into a white hot rage and punch her right in the mouth. And the kicker is she thinks that she and I are besties. She literally tells everyone I'm one of her favorite coworkers. I don't know why because I can barely have a conversation with her without combusting from annoyance. Okay, honestly, like the problem with this is that unless you are like, I don't know, I guess I did have some people that I was pretty blatantly rude to that like, but I mean at the end of the day, like I guess I feel like at the end of the day, the people that hung around, there were parts that I enjoyed and like wanted around. So like at the end of the day, I guess I did like technically indulge that. And so like I just feel like part of us indulges that, you know, like because you could be so rude if you actually do not care. You know what I mean? And I understand people are going to be like, "Okay, but Coral, I'm at work. I can't be rude at work. I can get fired." Trust me, there are ways to be professionally rude. And she'll get the hint. And if you need some help, let me know. Because I'm pretty good at being professional, bitch. I got a lot of practice. All right, number 17. There was this guy in college always starting drama in my class. He was the type of student who would have gather oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, who would have grating and senseless discussions with professors. You know that kid. Being a know-it-all and questioning their every move. He would talk and talk and talk, incredibly annoying, and I never believed anything he said. He felt incredibly fake. I always hated that. And then they're always like constantly challenging the teacher. And you like sometimes like I had a guy in my microeconomics class and he would just try to interject when he obviously had no idea what he was talking about. And it would always be about like this golf stuff. Like it was just so weird. He would always just try to apply every lesson back to golf and it just was not effective. It was just really annoying and it was wild. I don't know. All right, number 18. There were these last two stereotypical dumb fuckboys at my last job. They were inconsiderate, loudly blasted shitty trap music, talked about how they both had hoes for days, showed up to work drunk and high, and never talked about anything intelligent. I couldn't stand them. I was wondering if there's like more like, I don't know, just like people's coworkers, how I'm surprised there's not like more, I guess, is really, but I don't know. There has been some, but all right, number 19. The neighbor below me came to complain about a squeaking coming from my apartment. There are old wood floors under our carpet, so we literally can't help the squeaking. It was infuriating because we have to listen to their family get into screaming fights at all hours of the day and slamming doors. But a squeaking floor, apparently that's too much. And we got reported to management. That's wild. That is so wild. Neighbor struggles. Ugh, we had this horrible neighbor that used to live under us, like a long time ago, and one time our washer started leaking, and apparently it started leaking in his apartment too, and he was pissed. So he calls, like he is cussing up a storm. He is screaming, like he's been complaining about us for like we had been there for like maybe a week or two at this point at that apartment complex, and like he had already complained about us multiple times because when we very first moved in, I'll admit I was up all hours of the night like unpacking. That was my bad. Like for the first week I really was, when I was up at like 2 a.m. unpacking and he could hear, and I don't know, when they told us that he had made a complaint, I was like, look, this is what I was doing, like this is what was going on, I'm sorry, that was my bad, like I didn't think about it. And so they were like, yeah, no problem, like as long as it doesn't happen again, like, or as long as it doesn't like keep happening. And I mean, there wasn't any more noise issues, but apparently when our washer started leaking, it started leaking down into his apartment, and he was furious and livid and started calling everyone, like cussing up a storm, throwing a big fit. When maintenance got there, he goes in and like this guy is like screaming at him and is like yelling about us and is complaining about us so bad. And the guy goes into the bathroom and looks at the leak, and it's literally leaking into his bathtub. So like there's there's no damage, like it's his, like there's nothing wrong. in his apartment. It's literally just leaking into the bathtub, like into the shower. From his ceiling. So like it's from the ceiling to the bathtub directly. There is no damage on his floor. There is no damage on his walls. Like it's literally like, and we only know this because the maintenance guy comes up and ends up telling us how horrible that guy was. And so like he was just like, look, don't take his complaints personally. I'm gonna tell like the management. Like I don't know. He was so nice to us and just ugh. But yeah, neighbors can be sticky and gross. All right, number 20. This one guy who is trying to sell his self-motivated program when he has absolutely zero training or credentials to counsel people. He talks out of his ass on Facebook all the time. Based on what I know about his personal life, he is in no position to be hawking his program. He also started trying to sell a workout and diet program after going to the gym for less than 2 months. Because I feel bad for being this annoyed with him, or she said, I feel bad for being this annoyed with him because he's pretty nice to me, but he could really harm someone with what he's doing, and it really bothers me. Interesting. I have been seeing a lot of debates about like the rise of all the coaches and things like that. And I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit a part of that. So I don't know how I feel because I do feel like there's a lot of damage being done. But also I feel like there's a lot of damage being done with by people with degrees and by people with certificates. So it can go both ways. I just feel like you have to use your intuition. You have to know who is like, it's just, you really have to take what resonates to you. Like that's the thing, is you have to understand how to discern for yourself what is your truth and what isn't. And I think that's like point blank, you know, I don't know. And it's hard. How do you trust, you know? And you know, the people can be like, well, you can work with me and I can teach you how, but like then that just, you know, it kind of gives, it's in a circle. So you just kind of got to use your own intuition. Sometimes you got to dive in, see if you get hurt. Number 21, my kid's school superintendent. He calls at 5 a.m. to announce school closings in the middle of ice storms with every other school district, county, or it says while every other school district in the county announces their closings by 8 the night before. Interesting. At best, 5 a.m. phone calls from school should be reminders after they announce the school closings the evening before. That way parents can figure out how to get childcare and work arrangements solidified if necessary. I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, it is like he is an asshole for like, because everybody else knows at 8 o'clock the night before, but like, I don't know, I'm used to that because that's kind of how our school was. Like, I don't know. We rarely had cancellations, but all right, number 22. I still have a grudge against one professor I had in college. I always got the vibe that he didn't like me, and he certainly was not my cup of tea either. He was in his first semester of teaching and was clearly irritated about having to teach my particular class, since he was hired as a specialist for another field. Before finals, I had a grade of 87% in this freshman level class, so I was hoping that I would do well enough on my final project and bring it up to an A. Instead, I was surprised with a C. It caused my overall GPA to fall below what I needed to maintain my main scholarship. I was curious how I could be doing so well and then lose 10% of my grade right at the end, so I politely emailed my professor asking to see a breakdown of my grades, since I'd never seen what I received on any coursework or gotten any feedback. No reply. I had to request my grades through my department. I had a 79.98 and I lost my scholarship because of it. Oh, that sucks. The teacher gave me a 60% on my final, 40% on participation, 50% on my semester-long journal, and 70% on my attendance. I missed a single class. No feedback or explanation, just straight slaughtering of my grades. And it was an art course. Oh shit, it was an art course. I mean, what kind of person wouldn't just afford a student 1 point when all of the power is in their hands and the grading metrics are highly subjective? You have to be pretty heartless to say, wow, he almost had an A before this and now he's 1 point away from getting a B. Ha, that sucks. I was a 21-year-old broke college student. These things have huge consequences. Trying to stick it to me like that could have caused me to no longer attend school. Every time I saw him in the halls after that, he would make eye contact and then change direction or go into an office. I got a 4.0 the next semester, regained an equivalent scholarship later on, ended up graduating with honors, getting a recommendation from the department chair, and landed a high-paying job in my last 10 years, or in my field within the last 10 years. But every time I wish I had more money for something, I can't help but feel better or help but feel bitter about the extra thousands and thousands of dollars I paid for school that I shouldn't have. So yeah, fuck that guy. Interesting. I don't know how I go on that one. Like I said, like I had a lot of like really shitty teachers. Um, but again, sometimes you just don't know. Because I'm wondering about like the participation and stuff. Like honestly, to full disclosure, my mother is a teacher, so I do also sort of, kind of take things with a grain of salt from students because sometimes the teachers are a little misunderstood. But I don't know, that's just me. But I don't know. So I don't know. This guy really could have been an asshole, and I don't know. Or what if this student was kind of an asshole and the teacher was trying to teach him a lesson? Like, I don't know. Anyways, number 23, I long distance dated a guy named Rick. This was back in the day when one paid long distance phone calls by the minute, so phone bills were very expensive. I used the company phone to call him 3 times a week during lunch. We called customers all over the country all day and every day, so calls were not monitored. Oh, okay, interesting. I called him one day and he sounded really upbeat and happy, so very cutesy. I jokingly asked, "You sound happy, what's her name?" And he, equally cutesy, said, "Heather." She said, the rest of that afternoon did not go well. I ugly cried and had to return to the selling floor with a splotchy face. I was devastated. To top it off, word got around about what happened, and management realized that I made an out-of-state phone call on the company dime, and I got in trouble for that. 2 years later, I visited my sister. She threw a party for me so I could meet her friends. I joined a conversation right as one of her friends who had just had a horrific breakup said I was ricked. My jaw nearly hit the floor. She looked up at me, realized that I was the reason she was using this expression, and was mortified. I just started belly laughing. So yeah, my sister and her friends coined a phrase for the ultimate experience in bad breakups around my ex Rick. I still hate him. That's kind of funny. This is, who's the person in your own life who really grinds your gears and why? Let me know in the comments. That's really funny. Let's check out some of these comments. I want to know who really grinds your gears. Right now, let's see. I mean, obvious. Like, okay, this is so funny. I'm like sitting here thinking, and then the very first thing that I open up and I see, it says anyone who voted for Trump. Yes. The fact that him being a rapist and a racist wasn't a deal breaker for those people tells me everything I need to know about them and how much I can trust them. Hell yes. Whoever wrote this, it was hot pink. And I agree. Like, honestly, yeah. Anyone that voted against reproductive rights, like, yeah. Anyone who is saying that we have no active genocides happening in the world, anyone that's actively denying genocides, yeah, I don't like you. But the thing is, I don't really like hate you. I just kind of feel bad for you. Whoa. So now I'm like wondering, is there anyone that I hate? Because I really feel like if you hate someone, there has to be like, I don't know. Who do I hate? Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, Mr. Donald is probably the yeah, I don't know. The whole MAGA crew, it's all of the people, and again, it's like, it's not even like, it's this like deep annoyance, and I get it. I feel it from these people, the people who wrote in about the people that they hate. Like, I get it. It's this deep like annoyance, and you want to just, yeah. You want them to have the day they deserve. the life they deserve. And you know what? I feel like at the end of the day, they will. They will have what they deserve. They will get what they deserve. It'll all be fine. It is not my place to dole out any type of vengeance. It is simply my place to build the world that I want to create. So, yes. Anyone else who's out here doing the same, I love y'all. I see you. Thank you for listening to this episode if you did. And yeah, that was all of the people with hatred in their hearts talking about who they hate. There were, how many were there? What, like 20? There's 23 of them. And thank you to Pernell Quilon, I believe, at BuzzFeed, who compiled all of these. They were very interesting. Very nice to read. Good times. If you have anything that you would like me to read through, or, you know, I don't know, if you just want more episodes, check out my playlists. And yeah, or if you have any recommendations of what you would like me to read next, leave it below. Leave any links below in the comments, whatever, you know, I don't know. All right. I think that is all for today. So we will see you next time on Coral Renaie Reacts. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I love you.